the #1 long-form writer that helps SEOs outrank competition at the click of a button using real-time research and NLP. Start ranking content today with content@scale.ai.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute
So up next, me, myself, and I. So I'm supposed to introduce myself, and I did not plan this, but for people who have been coming in and out this afternoon, I've been moderating, and maybe you don't know me, and it's time to introduce myself. Myriam Jessier. Something I'm a bit known for is to be really stressed on stage, so I have an octopus hand puppet, but this is the new streamlined version. I have a finger puppet now, and it really, really helps. So cute. Thank you. So we're going to be talking about an image performance budget. Great. If you don't know what this is, it's normal. It's something that I didn't think about, but it's been a concept that people have thrown out there in a book on page 450, I think, and nobody followed up. I decided to do so. So here's the promise: banish image bloat. Here's the marketing version: achieve peak performance. Great. And who am I concretely? Well, bonjour, I'm Myriam Jessier. And if you haven't heard it, I'm very French. I have spent 8 years in dev centers. I have 15 plus years of experience as an SEO. Yes, I am old. I remember fax machines and a 56K modem. And this talk will have a lot of tentacles. So if you already know, you kind of want to connect with me because I sound fun or knowledgeable, you can do so. Just scan it right now. Cool? We're good? Are we enjoying the little effort in design? Because I don't do that very often. This is a new deck. Oh, so agenda, the big problem we're going to be talking about. If you're here, it's not that there is no problem. Nobody ever wakes up in the morning going, let's banish image bloat. Second thing is, enter image performance budget, and the last one is how to implement it, because I love concepts. They're great. Theory is great. Practice is how we make money. So let's talk about practice too. The big hairy problem. It's that designers want premium pixels, and marketers want shiny, shiny visuals, and devs want a site that loads fast. Great. So what happens? Well, developers and SEOs are often caught in the middle. We're trying to balance competing demands. And before you slap an image optimization plugin on this and call it a day, and I worked for a few of them, I can tell you that you should consider an image performance budget. Why? Because it's a great tool. It sets limits. It provides a useful way. It's a great framework to talk about performance with stakeholders. And as we know, stakeholders don't really want to talk about images or much of those things. Like technical SEO is a bit of a struggle. So here are the things you should consider when you want to build that budget. The total size of images. Hey, you already do that in your audits. The format, you already do that. Image compression, responsive images, lazy loading, number of images. You already do all of this, and yet people don't necessarily take you seriously or want to make an effort to optimize images. So a budget exists to reflect reachable goals, because all the time we get told, yeah, that's not a priority, we can't do that right now, it's going to cost too much. Let's stop that and actually set a limit for real. Let's be responsible. It's a trade-off, okay, between user experience against other performance indicators, like conversion rate. Yeah, so it's a bit complicated. And the nice thing about having a budget, something realistic, is that you can also use automation to flag when your budget is crossed. We spent too much, we're aware of it, we get an alert. So an example, an easy one, images should not be more than 100 kilobytes. This is just arbitrary, okay? But you can tell a tool that, and it will flag it for you. So how are you going to define the budget? because there's no magical silver bullet, there's no solution, although if anybody is an entrepreneur, or I can do that in French actually, entrepreneur, you could be building a tool like this. Like I have a friend at Shopify that would love to buy your solution. So pick your metrics. This is where we get a bit nerdy. Quantity-based metrics, we know that. We know that very well. Milestone timings, not everybody may know that. Let's demystify that. And rule-based metrics. Okay, a budget is coming together. So, quantity-based metrics, total image weight. You already know this. Image requests, like how many of the HTTP requests are made to fetch images on a page? You would be surprised by that number. It can get ridiculously high. So, that could be something you consider, or image dimensions. Are those the only 3 metrics? No. Every company, every website is different. If you have a photography website, your budget is going to look like something else, okay? Milestone timing metrics for images. Now, that's a different story. So, what is your milestone? Time to first image, aka the time it takes for the first image to appear on the page. That's a milestone. We agree on that. Image load time. Okay, the time it takes for images to fully load on a page. And if you want someone to explain it to you in depth, or actually you want to hire a dev/SEO that does it really well, Dave Smart is amazing. We discussed it. We ran some tests, okay? Like when I built this talk, I checked out everything. Theory is great, practice is better. Rule-based metrics for images. Image format efficiency, lazy loading, cumulative layout shift. And if I say this and you're like, that's fine. Let's take an example. Cumulative layout shift. What's a good rule? We should have image dimensions that are like specified, because if we don't, we will have things that move and we'll have core web vital issues. Yeah, that's a rule. So here are some budget examples. I'm only going to do one just to stay on time. The images on our news page must be lazy loaded to ensure an initial page load and interactivity time of under 2 seconds on a 3G connection. That's a goal. That's something that you can measure up against. And the great thing about it is, it's an honest way to keep stakeholders honest. AKA, do we all agree on this? Is this our objective for images? Yes? So we are going to make allowances to make this happen. It's not going to be something that we all agreed on and nobody follows up, and then yet another SEO agency we pay will come in and do an audit and tell us to fix all these things for our images. No. This is something that we actively work towards, or something that we actively maintain so we don't bust the budget. Okay? So you need to establish a baseline to start. If you are going to come into the office and go, you know what? We're going to establish an image performance budget, just like, like a regular web performance budget, but for images, you better know what you're talking about. So you need to establish a baseline. And SEOs are great at establishing baselines because it's an audit. We all do audits, okay? I want you to take the time to audit what works, what doesn't work. Because sometimes you'll be fixing stuff and what works doesn't work anymore. So make a note of what works, what doesn't work, and also check out the competition. So if you're always complaining and you want to be the best and then everybody just goes, tap into the psychology, okay? Cognitive biases for the win. Yeah. Well, you know what? You may not be aware of this, but the competition does it way better than us. So maybe that's tied to their success. Let's go. Baseline. And you need to test your findings. What does this mean? Oh, you found some stuff. Great. You have a theory that the reason why this happens is because ABC. Test it out to be sure. You need to establish the baseline. Because the problems that you have are rather systemic. The reason why your images are so huge is because somebody in the design department is convinced that a developer somewhere will handle the problem. And the developer is like, I'm convinced that that save for the web option is going to work. So we kind of like all expect each other to do it. Test why this doesn't work out. So now we can look at how do I implement this? Here are the step-by-step instructions. Before I start talking, break out the cell phones. This is like the photo one. Good. Should I maybe? Okay, yeah, I think this is working better. Cool. So, step-by-step instructions. Like I said, theory is great, but let's implement this. Define your goals to guide the process. The floor is moving and making a lot of noise, and I'm feeling incredibly heavy right now, just letting you know. It's affecting my self-esteem. So, what do you want to achieve? Is it better UX? Did somebody decide to go on that crusade? Is it a core web vital issue? What is motivating you to look into this? What are the goals? Is it just keep the SEO team happy? For the record, this is from a real ticket that I got to read. Developers really tagged it this way, and I was like, there's a process problem somewhere, but I think it's above my pay grade to say anything. Establish your baseline. Run an audit and figure out your baseline. This is where we stand, so we can go further. This is our bare bottom. Set your budget. Figure out your key metrics. Not all budgets will have the same rules. This is where you get to be a professional and feel confident and go, yeah, for that photography website, we're going to have a budget that is very different from an e-commerce website that is mainly shopped on by Gen Zers that are on their cell phones. Of course, we have different needs. Optimize your images. So go time, you already know how to do this. If you don't, I already gave a talk about this, so just come and see me. I will give you access. You will be caught up. And monitor the performance with tools. So you have paid tools. I snuck in a reference in there, but there's one called Calibre, for example. And you can, or Speed Curve, there's another one. You can pay tools to do this specifically. Or you can come up with a solution on your own. That also works. Iterate. Revisit and adjust your budget. Yeah, why? Because life happens. Functionalities happen. Maybe your budget was smaller and now the website is getting bigger and you have different needs and you decided to go in a different direction. Iterate. Educate your team. This includes designers, developers, content creators, etc. What does that mean? You can take my slides and you can explain to people, okay, so when we're talking about a milestone metric, here's what it means. When we're talking about a rule, in plain old English, when this happens on the website, we will have an alert that does this. And we will have to respond to it. Communicate to people and make them care about this the way you do. And an image performance budget has 2 levels. Hey, this is getting a bit tricky. If you're feeling a bit like an accountant but dealing with pixels, normal. So you need warnings and errors. So you manage your performance proactively and reactively. Okay? So proactively is tell me before Google tells me there's a CLS problem. I don't want to have that warning. Let me handle it. Okay? And then reactive is oopsie, doopsie, let's fix it. So this means that your 2 levels, it's up to you to figure them out as well. There is no documentation on this, but this is a great process to communicate and improve that problem. So like any budget, you will have to make trade-offs and prioritization. You cannot have it all. I'm sorry, you can't. I mean, you could, but then your colleagues would not trust you to do anything else because they already allocated as much bandwidth as they could, and they're like, yeah, I'm not doing this twice. So you need to revisit the budget as the site evolves. This is super important. If you're going, for example, from a small e-commerce website to an international wunderkind that everybody talks about with millions of products, yeah, this needs to change. And if something goes over a defined threshold, what happens? If you're thinking, oh, well, I need to do another audit, no, that's not the answer, okay? We're not here for this. You can optimize something, you can remove it, or you can say, hey, how about we don't add this? So this is a bit novel for people, but it fits the budget. How about we make do without that image? Whose feelings are we hurting? Oh, is it just the CEOs? Okay, we'll handle that, but we're still removing the image. Create an actionable budget. Here's an example. Here are the tools you could use: Google Lighthouse, Crux Report, Google Search Console. Audit with Lighthouse. Analyze the current image use. So what are the sizes we tend to have on each template, like each type of page? Set your performance goals. So make it achievable. Like, I'm not going to lose weight to become a ballerina. Like, I know my structure, okay? Be careful, be realistic. It's essential to monitor a mix of quantity, which we excel at, and user-focused performance, which Google is also diving into. So monitor both, okay? Quantity-based metric, like total weight or number of image requests, and those that are directly influencing user experience. So this is more qualitative, okay? This is more user-centric. So image load time, time to first image, okay. And then you create your strategy. So that's like deciding what format are we going with. If you have a mix of like PNGs and JPEGs and you don't know why, figure out why in the audit, okay? And then say, no, we're gonna go with these formats in these situations. Figure out how you do responsive, figure out what compression algorithms you wanna use, okay? Lazy loading, how does it work? Because that also could cause issues. You need to have a strong strategy. Implement it. So remember my example with Shopify? There are apps that can help you, okay? So figure out which tools you wanna have and monitor the performance. So use Google Lighthouse to check your progress towards your goal. And that's like a small caveat, but I prefer Google Lighthouse to page speed because of the way they calculate if you should compress an image or not, so we can talk about it. Crux provides, so Crux, Chrome UX report, it's a free thing, you can Google it, it really does exist. You can get it set up really fast. You don't need me, just read the thing, you'll be good. And this is more real-world Chrome users experiencing things. Remember the user-centered metrics? I didn't come up with them, okay? It's happening. Use Core Web Vitals. There's a report. It comes every 28 days. I know it's a bit limited, but fine. You should use that report to check Core Web Vitals and see how pages are performing. Is it perfect? No, but is it something that everybody can agree on? Like, this is something we want to monitor. Yeah. And over time, your site will just change and user expectations change and devices change because we're always focused on like our website, our knowledge. No, if there's a new feature coming out from the team, if you see that user behavior is changing or devices enable you to do more stuff, time to revisit the budget and go, do we need to shrink it because of that? Or can we expand a bit? Do we have a bit more margin? And I'm gonna go over this really, really fast because I didn't come up with this all alone, like I said. So there are a few articles. WP Rocket, I worked with them quite a few years ago. They have solid documentation. They're all about performance for WordPress. You have KeyCDN. Web dev is great. And last but not least, this is the person that inspired me to talk about this. Adi Osmani is actually somebody who works at Google. I've never really paid attention to what he does in terms of like official title. I just love to read his stuff. And he published an image optimization book on Smashing magazine, like with their editions. And that's where I found this idea, like buried in one of the sentences. And I was like, I need to expand on this. This makes sense. This is a great way to actually tackle the problem instead of just saying, we have a problem with images. We have a problem with images. We have a problem with images. No, have a budget. Let's all be responsible adults here. So if you would like to know more, you can always email me at Myriam Jessier, Myriam@pragma.co. And if you really enjoyed the vibe of these slides, my new website, MyriamJessier.com, just came out today with these colors. So if you want to like have an accessible mermaid aesthetic moment, have fun. So thank you very much.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.